So annoying.
I'm just waiting for her message.
I don't know how this works, but I'm here.
Just go with the flow. We'll be fine.
Okay.
We're just gonna have a conversation, I guess, Jackie.
Okay. When does it start? It says it's live.
Yes, now. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today we're here to talk about Vidi's and Jackie's transition from community college to a 4-year university. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Daniela.
Hello, everybody. So yeah, we're going to talk about the pathway of going to a community college and then going to a 4-year university. That transition serves as an alternative path to get a bachelor's degree, which is also known as a BA, where you begin by attending a local community college and then you transfer. And when you do so, you can add on an additional associate's degree prior to getting your BA at a 4-year university. And today we are joined by Vidi and Jackie, two of our advisors at Andrew Hill High School. Jackie is our supervisor and Vidi's our lead. So if y'all want to start off by introducing yourselves, maybe mentioning the school that you go to, the one that you transferred from, and your major. And we can start with Vidi.
Okay, great. So I got my Associates of Science from San Jose City College, and my major was Administration of Justice. And I am now transferring to San Jose State, and my major will be Sociology with hopefully a minor in Justice Studies.
Hi guys, my name is Jacqueline Gennaro, and I did my associate's degree at a community college called Solano. And then I transferred to San Jose State and got my bachelor's degree in communications and business with a minor in business. And then I took 5 years off of school, figured out, myself a little bit more because I had no idea what I really wanted to do. And I I got my master's degree at San Jose State again, and I got it in counseling.
All right, thank you guys for introducing yourselves. Right now we have a icebreaker, and our question is going to be, what has been the highlight of your summer this year? And anyone can go ahead and answer.
I don't feel like I have a highlight yet. I feel like starting this week I will, only because my family were getting a puppy on Sunday, so we've been preparing for that. And then also I'm going on a little vacation. I'm going to Vegas next weekend, so I'm excited for that. That's pretty much it. I haven't really done anything exciting this summer, but I'm glad that I'm at least doing something before I start my first semester at San Jose State.
What kind of dog are you getting?
It's what is it called? Australian Shepherd with the Border Collie. Yeah, she's really cute. We are naming her Nyla. Yeah.
That's so cute. I wish I had a dog. I can go ahead and go. It's a lot of responsibility though, so good luck with that. My highlight, I'd say, would be that I was able to get back into boxing this summer. That's something that I completely missed. I had an injury, and then also with the pandemic, everything was closed. So it was super hard to not have that in my life. And now that I have it, it's like some time that, I get to really focus on myself and push myself. So definitely my highlight of this summer. Thankful to be back.
Okay, I'll go. Congrats on boxing, by the way, to Guadalupe, and congrats on the dog, Vidi. My highlight this summer would be, I think overall in the past year, highlight being that we were in COVID, would be taking more time to focus on my health. And that includes working out every single day, whether it be just a walk or getting on the Stairmaster, lifting some weights. It has really been a game changer for me and my mental health as well, because it just makes me feel better to be able to move and get that energy out from not sitting at the computer all day, every day. And then my other highlight would be just working and trying to do all that I can to focus in on my jobs that I have. But also this week, my realization has been to really just tone in on one job. And I think that that has been the highlight of my summer because I get myself into too many things. And now it's making sense that I need to not do that. And I'm very thankful for being able to work out because that is the biggest stress reliever in the world.
Yes, I do not work out every day. And I'm hearing like I'm in the room with a bunch of people who exercise every single day. I feel a little intimidated. I guess my highlight would be a couple things. So last week I had the opportunity to go be a speaker at an event for a program that I did similar to CalSO for the last 6 years. And that was really cool because I was able to see a bunch of students who are like about to start their own college journeys, or just enter the workforce, whatever path they chose for themselves. And it just meant a lot to have been invited to give a speech. And in addition to that, one of my best friends was able to go with me. And that just meant a lot because I feel like, similar to what like Jackie just mentioned, I feel like I've grown alongside her so much these past few years, especially like in mental health, but also with where we're at now. And I don't exercise every week, but she did make me go out for a hike about a week ago too, and it was so fun. We went back to the trail that we used to compete on for cross country in high school. And oh my gosh, I almost fell because it was like this super steep hill. I cannot believe that I used to do that on a daily basis back in high school. It just like, I don't know, it shocked me. But yeah, thank you all so much for sharing about your summer and what you're all up to. I guess we can just get on into it. The first question is, are you a first generation student? And how did that play into your transition, whether that be into community college or four-year universities? And we can start with Beauty.
Yes, so I am a first generation student. My parents came from Mexico and well, my mom only went up to like sixth grade in Mexico, and my dad came here when he was 15. So he did go to high school here, but he didn't graduate. He actually went to San Jose High, which is not that far from Andrew Hill. Um, but the role that I played when going to college, I was very unaware of what I was doing. I technically went through the whole college process on my own because I had an older brother and he helped me as much as he could. But I couldn't ask my parents for advice or what they thought about anything, right? Like they didn't know much about college or like the process of it or how to even apply to it. So I literally did it all myself, especially
Oh no, I think she froze.
Okay, should I just go then?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, so the question was, am I first gen?
Yes, and how did that affect your transition?
Okay, so I am first gen. It affected my transition in the way that I was not given the knowledge or resources to know how, like, which way to go. And it also probably didn't help that I was a really C average student in high school. And I didn't have those connections with counselors, or I wasn't a part of a program like AVID, whereas other of my, fellow students, classmates, they were a part of AVID and they knew what university they were going to go to. And my dad, he went to community college. And even though I am first gen, my dad was actually born here and his mom was born here. So that makes me third gen in a way. But for the whole college purposes, that would make me first gen because I was the first in my family to graduate and go to college. My dad went, but then he ended up having me at a really young age. And my mom went as well, and she had me at a young age. And they just didn't know anything about college because right away they got jobs. And I really just had to figure it out on my own. And if it wasn't for playing softball, I was gonna take a year off when I got out of high school. But luckily, one of my teammates that I played high school softball with said, "Hey, I'm gonna go to community college and I'm gonna play softball there. You should try." And I was like, "No, I'm not that good. I don't know. I don't, nah." And then she's like, "No, you should try." And at the time, I was working a job and I liked making money and I liked having a check every week. And I said, "No," I was like, "It's gonna take time away from me working." And then she said, "Well, you can still work and play." And me, I think this is how I started doing so many things and getting myself caught up into things. And it became kind of, I guess, a bad habit in a way too, but a good habit. It was like bittersweet, like, it was a double-edged sword because yes, I was doing a lot of things, but I was still able to manage my time wisely. And so I ended up doing that, and I played summer ball, and then I played fall ball, and I was still working, and I was going to school full time. And in the summer, I was required to take a summer class because I wanted to get right into it. So that's kind of how I got into my community college, and that's kind of how it led me into higher education after that.
Thank you for sharing that. I definitely agree with the whole experience. Vidi, if you want to go ahead and continue.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. My internet cut off. I had to connect to my phone. I'm so sorry. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh, okay, yeah. So I technically did the whole application on my own. I did the whole financial aid on my own, which was a struggle. I actually didn't even apply to financial aid until past the, how it's supposed to be due on March 2nd. I didn't submit it until like a couple weeks before I even started San Jose City. So I did everything last minute because I had no idea. But yeah, that was the process of going into community college. I guess also because I didn't have that guidance as a first generation student. I like fell back a lot when it came to my schoolwork. That's why I would say it took me like usually it takes you about 2 years to complete community college. It took me a little longer because of that, and also for personal problems that I went through. At the end of the day, it like got me to where I am now, and now applying to San Jose State was also a little bit stressful for myself. I mean, I knew. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, it's because you guys froze. I wasn't sure if you guys can hear me. What was I saying? Yeah, so I mean, applying for San Jose State was not as hard for me because I had the support from like this program now that I worked here. But yeah, that has been one of my struggles with being a first generation student. And yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I definitely agree. I had an older brother that went to college, and even though he really wasn't really around, so it was kind of hard to figure it out. It's kind of still like on your own when you don't have your parents to turn to. But kind of another topic, I guess, is how did you choose which college to transfer to? So from your community college to San Jose State, or like to San Jose State, because you guys both went to San Jose State. How did you make that decision?
So I made the decision to transfer to San Jose State because I actually had applied to multiple schools. I applied to Fullerton, Long Beach, San Francisco State, Cal State East Bay, Sacramento State, and San Jose. And I was really on the fence about going down south after I visited Fullerton because I had to ask myself, look, do I have family here? Do I really have a lot of friends? Will I feel comfortable? There was like multiple questions running through my mind about going down south. And then the baby part of me came out, and I was just like, San Jose, I think I want to go there because it's still close to home, but it's not, it's not too far away. And then at the time, I just felt like it was like the perfect move for me. I went and visited Sac State. I looked at Cal State East Bay and was just kind of not impressed. I was just, whatever. I think out of, oh, and I also got into San Diego State. And I think that out of all the schools that I would have went to if I would have went down south, it would have been Long Beach and then San Diego State, and everybody's just like, why? But I think it was more so the vibe at the time at Long Beach was really like more so me. I hated Fullerton. I was just like, this does not fit my identity, because I think that's one thing that students also need to look at is when they're looking at schools is kind of just trying to see like, does this fit who I am and what I want? And for me, Fullerton just was not it. I was just like, no, this looks boring. I don't want to do this. Whereas San Jose was still like, I don't know. It's just, I think I still kind of felt at home where I didn't really feel that either at Long Beach or San Diego. But to each their own. And that's kind of how I chose San Jose State.
Okay. I also was in between San Jose State and Long Beach. Originally, I wanted to go to Long Beach, like that was my dream school. Only because like, well, I have a cousin that went there and I knew their criminal justice program was good there. And I kind of wanted to get away from San Jose for a little bit. But I thought about it a lot, and my parents rely on me a lot. And I was like, there's no way that I can just leave them in that way. I mean, I guess I could have, like, to do it for myself, but I know that they would need me. So, and I was like, you know what? I like San Jose State also. I've been on the campus. I had friends that go to San Jose State. So I was constantly on that campus anyway. And I was like, I like it. Like, why? I could just go here. I don't have to worry about where I'm going to live either. Also, I think one of the things that really pushed me was I went times that were tabling, and the SJPD was tabling there also. And I just went up to them and I asked them how, I think I asked them if they were like hiring for like internships or something. And they had told me that they weren't, but that one of the benefits from San Jose State was that they offer training for the police academy. And since my goal is to become a detective with the SJPD and I have to go through the police academy, I was like, wow, like they're gonna help you go through the whole process, like the hard things, like jumping over a fence and all this other stuff. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So I think that stood out to me as well. But yeah, I was only in between Long Beach and San Jose State. I decided on San Jose State, and I'm actually really glad that I did.
Thank y'all so much for sharing. I don't know, as somebody who's moving down to SoCal to do college, what y'all were talking about low-key made me feel kind of nervous. But it's okay. I definitely agree with like what Jackie said earlier about how you really just need to check the vibe out and see if that's what you feel is best for you, like to each their own truly. And I'm glad that San Jose State is what was your own decision and what fit y'all's needs. And I guess alongside talking about needs, describing your summer before your transition to your four-year university out of community college, what were your priorities to prepare? And I know VD, that summer is this summer. So I guess you can tell us a little bit about what's running through your mind right now.
I would say that I'm like extremely nervous, if I'm being honest. I guess I am preparing myself mentally for it. I think I'm ready for it, but I don't know. It's hard to explain. I think because I have been on the campus so much, but I was never on the campus like as a student myself. I just saw it and I was like, wow, it's so nice. And I was so used to San Jose City because I was there for so long. I felt comfortable there. And I knew where everything was. I could get myself around and I felt fine and everything. But now starting at a like another school, which is bigger, and I don't know, I'm preparing myself mentally. I don't know what to expect. I mean, I know it's going to be great, But yeah, I'm a little scared. I'm a little nervous. Thankfully, I still have some people there that can guide me. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how I'm preparing myself for it. I think for online classes, I'll be fine but I know I will be really nervous once I'm driving there.
So for me, it was many, many years ago, like many years ago, we're talking. And it was a decade ago. That's wild. I'm old. So it was back in 2011, and I went in the winter time, actually. I didn't go in the fall, not winter, spring. I went spring, but I was getting prepared in the winter time. And I mean, I wasn't too stressed out. I think it was one of those things where I was just ready to go. And I was able to be prepared because I took off the fall semester. So I actually finished community college in the spring. So I was just like on the edge of my seat, ready to go. Like, all right, I got everything ready. Like, am I forgetting anything? Like I thought about this on a daily, you know? And then I moved into the San Jose State dorms, CVB, and I had three roommates. And that was interesting because I'd never had roommates before. And one of my fun hobbies back then was YouTube, and I had a YouTube channel. And so that was just something that was really cool, but at the same time, really uncomfortable because I'm trying to make my YouTube videos in my dorm room while these girls that I barely even know are hearing me make my YouTube videos. And that was just like a fun hobby, you know? And then I was working part time, I was working at Nike, and I had transferred from the Vacaville Nike to San Jose, which was Milpitas, the great mall Nike store. And so I had a routine, you know, I went to class, I did what I needed to do, but it was definitely something that takes a while to get used to. And it's like anything else, it's uncomfortable. You're meeting new people, you're creating new habits, and you're just in this whole new atmosphere that you have to learn how to adapt to. But yeah, I think that I did a good job. And I think that being prepared definitely helps, right? Writing down lists, writing down what do I need to bring to my dorms, writing down my monthly expenses and seeing like how I'm going to be able to make all this work, paying for groceries, because in the dorms, especially at CVB, I was a transfer student. And so because of that, I wasn't just a fresh new freshman in the dorms where I get my meals and everything already, you know, all that stuff's paid for. And it wasn't like that. I had to buy groceries. So I had weekly trips to Walmart because Walmart was what I could afford. And so these are things that I had to take into consideration and learn how to manage on my own. And that budget, that routine, that going to class and then doing my YouTube videos for fun, coming home and cooking, reading, doing my homework, and then doing it all again the next day. So
Right. Like Jackie mentioned, as you transition and as you go into your college, there's a lot of learning experiences. But it's all possible, I'd say, because of hopefully support that you have around, like some people really make a difference. So I'm just wondering if anyone gave you any advice for your transfer transition. If so, what advice was it applicable? Would you pass it along? So kind of share a little bit about that.
For me, I think the person that actually gave me a lot of his advice was actually Jackie. Like she was always there. She was always like, you need to go out. You need to like talk to people, join like organizations, like do this, do that. And I think because she sees how shy I am, I'm very to myself. At San Jose City, I didn't join anything. I was just like, I'm gonna go to my classes and I go home. Like that's all I do. And I feel like she really motivated me, and I want to see what I can find at San Jose State, like some support, like a club. I'm not sure about like a sorority, but like maybe clubs and stuff. I'm gonna look into it. Um, and I think that is something that I would pass on to like our students. I would tell them like, yeah, reach out, meet new people, because as much as you want to just go to the campus and then go back home, it gets boring because it's just that routine that you have constantly. And if you have like that group that you can go and talk to and like just like create friendships. Like that is something that I want, especially as someone that doesn't have like a big friend group. I don't really talk to many people. I'm like, I need to get out there. Like, I think I'm pretty cool. I can talk to people. So, yeah. Yeah, Jackie was one of the biggest people to motivate me through this whole process. Also, one of our DCAC reps that we had at Entry Hill, her name is Alejandra. She doesn't work there anymore. She was a huge motivation. Um, she was the one that would keep me on my toes. I even told her once, I was like, constantly ask me how I'm doing in my classes and force me to show you how I'm doing in my classes. And she's like, okay. So yeah, she would call me in and she'd be like, how are you doing? And I'm like, oh, you were actually like gonna do it. Yeah, I've had a lot of good motivation from the CalSO program. Also, someone that doesn't work with us anymore, who was a big support to me, was Enrique. Enrique Velasco. He supported me since I started working for this program. He's always been there. He would always check up on me. And yeah, we help students, but they helped me a lot as well.
Thank you, Biddy. That touches my heart. I love that kind of stuff. Okay, so my support. Again, softball. It all started with softball. If it wasn't for softball, I don't know if I'd be in college right away. I may have been a late bloomer, which is okay too, right? Everybody's on a different path and it's whenever you're ready to do it. But I was ready to take that next step. And I didn't like being in community college, honestly, if I'm being completely honest. Like I felt that maybe it was an ego thing, right? But I just felt like, man, why am I here? Because I would go on Facebook back then, social media for me. And I'd be like, man, this person's at this university. And oh my gosh, like, and that's just, you know, me seeing something that's completely out of the norm and goes back to me being a first gen and not having those resources or having that knowledge or experience to know what it's like to be at a four-year university. And I seen others doing that. And I'm like, I want to do that. I want to get out of this community college and I want to transfer. And I think it was more so me just kind of finding my way and also failing along the way. Okay. Because there's just we could go into a whole long thing about just the failures. Okay. But then there's also more of the success. And one of the biggest things for me was first off, the roommates. Okay, when I got to San Jose State, I really leaned on them because then you're hearing about what they're studying, you're hearing about their experiences. Like, what are you a part of? What do you do every day? What's your routine like, right? And you're kind of just like figuring out how can I mirror these people that I'm living with. Biggest thing though was my sorority, Sigma Alpha Zeta. So probably in my spring semester, I went my first semester not doing anything, just kind of getting a feel for what school felt like and what it felt like to be on campus. But the biggest thing for me was fall semester, walking around campus, rush week, and seeing all these sororities and talking to different ones and kind of just feeling out the vibe and seeing what felt best for me. And finally figuring out, cool, here's my sorority. This is the sorority I'm going to join. And really making those connections with the girls who are at the table right away, instantly, and going to their rush events at night and taking part in getting to know who they were and why they were in the sorority and what was a sorority and what was a sorority even about and how did this align with my values and who the person that I am. And just making those connections and then deciding, you know what, I'm going to do this. And little did I know, I pledged for 6 months, and the pledging process is a whole nother type of thing, right? You don't know unless you're in it. So from the outside looking in, it seems really cool, but from the inside looking out, it's a whole nother world. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I don't care what it takes, whatever it is, I'm going to do it because this is what I want to do. And these are the women that I want to surround myself with. And I did it. Made it in, got my letters, was super juiced, walked around campus like, yeah, I'm in the sorority. But not only that, really just getting to know the girls and getting to know what their purpose was. And each and every one of them learning their journeys and learning what brought them to college. And most of all, my sorority sisters are first gen. So really connecting with them. And then also just being able to do fun things with them and it's crazy because again, it's just one of those things where it's harder to explain and easier to be in, if that makes sense. And I'll never take it back for anything. It made my whole college journey what it was supposed to be. And I have no regrets at all. I still have connections with a lot of my sisters. I've lived with them outside of, even graduating San Jose State. I ended up moving in with them. I decided to get my master's because of one of them. One of my sorority sisters, Maya, she was telling me that she had her master's in counseling. And I kept asking her, and I said, hey, can I come see what it's like to shadow you? And she was working at a middle school in San Jose, and I went and shadowed her. And, they really brought me along my journey. I went through background twice with Santa Clara County probation because thought that's what I wanted to do. Because one of my sororities, actually 7 or 8 of my sorority sisters, are working for Santa Clara County probation. Some of them are counselors and some of them are probation officers. And just really kind of seeing like, okay, like what do they do? Or, how could they help me? How can I help them? And Guadalupe is here because word of mouth, right? Guadalupe is my sorority sister, as some people would know. And it's really great to have that network while in college. And it also allows you to learn more about yourself throughout even my pledging process, learning more about like, dang, like this is really how I am, or this is what I need to change. There's some bad toxic behaviors that I'm doing and it's not good and it's affecting these people. And there's just things that you learn about yourself along the way. And again, that was my best support system while in college. Before that, again, would be my softball team, kind of counselors here and there, but not really. Not really. I was the type of person that was self-sufficient in college and kind of had to navigate things on my own. But for others, it could be other people. They could have mentors, and that's fine too. But my sorority sisters were the ones who were my mentors too.
Yes, and the way that y'all are just connecting the dots for us, like we started off this conversation talking about being first gen and what that looks like, and it can be a very, very lonely experience right before you even set foot into those college doors. But I really love how y'all are bringing in these conversations about community and what that looks like, because community looks different for every single person. And I can definitely speak to the power of SAS because though I'm not a sister at UCLA, I would say that that sorority and like the sisters there were some of the first people that checked in on me, which meant a lot. And even though I didn't go through the rush process, they would still like text me every now and then. So, VD, if you want to rush, I would love to see like the trio of sisters here. That would be so amazing.
I think you and Biddy should rush for SAS.
Oh my gosh, we'll see. I'm actually considering it, but I want to check out some other sororities and just see what happens.
My best advice with that would be see what what fits you and what aligns, because also there's also our pillars that we go by, and then we our philanthropy, which is domestic violence. So you really want to see like what caters to you and what you want out of it.
Yeah, for sure. I went to their like info session and a few of their socials, but I was like, I don't know if I want to rush over Zoom. That seems like a lot. So we'll see. Something that was also sort of touched on earlier was this conversation about like the stigma around community colleges. And that's something that I find really interesting and just love to get y'all's perspective on it every time we have these podcasts, because I'm not a community college student. So it's something that is very much there for folks when they're even considering these schools, right? But would you all feel like even after you transferred and you were at a 4-year, was that something that was still lingering that affected your journey even at a 4-year?
Affected my 4 year. I don't know. I think it was just weird because I was in school with adults that were the same age as my parents, and I felt that it was kind of uncomfortable. I don't know why. And that's really bad, that's being stereotypical, and that everybody, it should be all inclusive. But for whatever reason, I just felt like, I don't know. Like, and then I think that the university holds this prestigious look on them. And so you want to be there. You want to keep climbing up the ladder.
I don't know. Daniela, can you tell me what you asked again?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
So just I guess your perspective on this and how you feel like it, whether it has or maybe it hasn't, the stigma of going to a community college. Like I've heard from people's experiences that it's something that does affect them while they're at a community college or even just making that decision, right? Do you feel like it's something that has affected you? If so, how? Something that you feel like will continue to affect you even if you're not a current community college student anymore?
I don't think so. I personally felt very comfortable at my community college. Um, I know that one of the things that I really tell our students, well, one of the issues that our students have when applying to community college is the whole idea of that they're behind their classmates that are going straight to a 4 year, right? And I always have to remind them that's not true. That's not it. Like you're getting the same education, you're technically just getting it a little bit cheaper. I was like, you're doing a general education and everything at this community college, and you're going to transfer it. But for many students, in their head is that they're below the people that go straight to a 4 year. And I don't think I ever felt that myself. I was I was always kind of like, oh, I don't know how to explain it, but I felt fine at the community college that I was at. I'm really glad I went to community college too, especially because I had so many setbacks while in community college. And if I would have been at a 4 year, that would have just been a lot harder. I don't even know how I would have dealt with that. But
All right. Thank you all for sharing. Kind of taking it back a little bit, looking back, is there something that you would change about your 4 year college transition? I know, you learned through your experiences, but like if there was one thing maybe that you could have done differently, would you have done it?
I think her screen, oh, she's not frozen. If I could have done one thing differently out from community college,
Just like your transition from community to San Jose State.
I don't think I would have done anything different.
I don't think so either. Um, no, I feel like the transition has been pretty smoothly for now. Um, but yeah, I don't think so. I feel pretty good about it.
Okay, that's amazing. Of course, I think it's always good to hear that you're having a positive experience, right? Let me see. So, what did you learn, I guess, in Jackie's case, and Vidi, what do you hope to learn about this whole transfer process to a 4 year? Um, yeah, I'll ask that half of the question first, and then we'll move on to the rest.
I think the biggest thing that I learned and can take away is that you can't rely on other people to figure things out for you in the transition of transferring from community to a 4 year. If you have questions, whether it be about financial aid, whether it be about housing when you're transferring, anything like that, the counselor cannot figure all that out for you. You need to come up with a plan. You need to be organized. You need to know that all of these things have to get done and maybe create a checklist for yourself on every single question that you would have in your head about how this is supposed to go. I would definitely say just being organized. And then when it comes to transferring, also thinking of really tuning in on your major and what you want to major in, because I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I changed my major that I felt like I needed to change it. And when trying to change it, you realize that that school that you're transferring to is highly impacted with so many students that want to study the same thing. And just because you're transferring to that school doesn't mean that you're going to get led into that school of whether it be business or it be the school of law. You need to have a plan before transferring on what you're going to major in and make sure that you get acceptance into that school and you're admitted. If you're not admitted, you're going to go in as undeclared because obviously you're not going to know what you want to study, or you're going to be waiting to get into that. And it's going to be a waste of time and a waste of money. Therefore, taking those classes, those prerequisite classes in community college so that you don't have to waste money is also a super important thing to know. And that's something that I learned along the way as well. I went in as a communications major, but primarily what I wanted to do was be a business major. And because some of the business classes, I couldn't get into them, or it was classes that I hadn't taken that were prerequisites to get into their program. Those are all things that you have to think about. So those would be the things that I learned, making sure that I'm getting into my major and I took the right classes and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I guess going off of what Jackie said, that would be something that I guess I'm learning in the process right now too. For me, I think I'm learning to actually reach out more and ask for help at the community college. I technically signed up for my classes myself, and I was like, okay, these are the classes I need to get my associates. Yeah, I would go check in with an advisor here and there just so they told me I was taking the right classes. But I technically did that on my own because I was scared to ask for help. But now I feel like this is something bigger. This is something a little more important. Like I'm getting my bachelor's now. So I need to be more comfortable reaching out and asking for help. I always feel like I can do everything on my own, and in reality it's not like that all the time. It's okay to ask for help. Yeah,
I definitely agree. I mean, this ties back to, being first gen and like trying to do everything on your own. I also went through something similar. Daniela, did you want to go ahead and say something?
Yeah, no, I guess that's next part of that question, but I also agree with what Lupe just shared. That was actually something that I had the opportunity to talk to some graduating seniors about last week. Like being first gen, you don't want to ask for help because you're afraid of being a burden or whatever the case may be, because you get to experience a lot so early on and get to learn how to take things on and be self-sufficient. But I agree, it's super important to ask for help when you need it, because that's also a version of being self-sufficient, right? Like taking the initiative to ask these questions and getting your answers and not taking no for an answer in that case. And I guess just looking ahead, is there something that you wish people would talk about more about the transfer process?
what I would probably like for someone to have told me is, I think it falls through with what I said before, is that whole thing about having to reach out and ask for help yourself. um I'm trying to think. I think it's just the whole like process of it. Like I felt applying to San Jose State, I felt like it was, I don't know, in my head I thought it was gonna be a little easier, not knowing that it has like so many steps to it. And I feel like that's something I wish someone would have told me. Like, no, there's like, you're gonna have to do a couple things before you even start there. Because you apply to community college and it's like you apply, you're automatically in. Okay, like pick your classes. What do you want to major in, right? And this was like a whole other thing. Like you apply, you have to send your transcripts, you have to sign up for orientation, you have to do the separate or online orientation, and it's like this like big old thing that could be overwhelming. So I wish I would have had someone to tell me so I could be a little more prepared for it. Or sometimes, like for example, I forget to like sign into my MySJSU and look at like the messages that they're sending me, and I'm like, oh my god, like what if I forget to turn this in and then they drop me? It's just like this whole stress of it. I wish I would have had someone to like remind me, but like how Jackie said, you not everyone's gonna do that for you. But yeah, but so far everything has been like pretty relaxed. I've been a little bit stressed, but not too bad. But yeah, it's pretty fun for the moment.
For me, I do not. I do not.
All right, sounds good. Well, that pretty much wraps up the questions that we have for y'all. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I definitely learned a lot, and I hope that the students also learned about transferring from a community college to a 4-year. So kind of to wrap it up, if y'all want to continue to follow us and know about our events, you can go ahead and follow our Instagram. You can follow the main CalSoap Instagram at San Jose CalSoap, and then our Andrew Instagram is at AHHS_CalSoap. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything. If not, then we can go ahead and end it here, and I hope everyone has a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.